of the company, the legal responsibility of the different parts involved, how to identify people in this new context, how to manage the ethics in this context, right? So in our opinion, this is a very interesting new research line for us. We would like to invite you to be friends of us at Facebook, at Twitter, and the different platforms. So we would like to answer your question mainly using this kind of means for now. And here you have my email, so it's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you.
We have a few minutes for a question, if anybody has any question. Yes?
Curious whether you're any concern that you were just being blocked by the proprietary shield on their use. I mean, or maybe I missed the point. Do you think you got beyond their shields, or you just went to their corporate website and judged what you judged from what you could see from public space, is what I was hearing. But
yeah.
We hear stories that companies are using things like Second Life and whatnot, and I'm sure those things are protected and not something you can just hit from any Wi-Fi site.
Yeah, you're right. It's difficult for a company to decide which is the better platform to inform to the stakeholders. You know, because if, for example, a company is not a person. A company is a set of persons. So if you enter to the Second Life, you are a person. So if you decide that Second Life is going to be the platform for you to communicate with the stakeholders, you have to decide which person of the company is going to represent and how to separate the use of Second Life for corporate reporting and for other issues. For example, if you develop your strategy of information at Second Life, well, you are speaking as a manager with employees that are also at the Second Life, but the employees has a double phase. They are a stakeholder, but they are also a part of the company by the internal side. So you're right. So you think you are completely right. It's very difficult to decide what is the perhaps that's the first question that we have to do. What is yes.
I think that you may have misunderstood the previous question. I think the person was asking about the use of these technologies internally within the company by employees versus externally facing with the public. So he was suggesting that they may be using something like a wiki internally, but you wouldn't be able to see it because it was not a visible external part of their web presence.
Correct, sir. Nonetheless, I enjoyed your answer.
Well,
my question would be, I wonder whether you might want to do some comparison between the cases you've chosen and some others for the reason that you have chosen probably the combination of industry and function where Web 2.0 technologies might be the least amenable to use. You've chosen the most heavily regulated industry, and you've chosen the most heavily regulated function within the industry, which is corporate financial disclosure. So you might want to compare corporate financial disclosure between banking and a less regulated industry like consumer products, or you might want to compare financial institutions, but compare corporate disclosure to something different like discussion of investment opportunities or consumer, money management or something. Because I think you've chosen, if the term is the sweet spot, I think you've chosen the sour spot in Web 2.0 technologies, and I think it's very difficult to imagine someone putting their corporate report up as a wiki, for example, and letting anyone edit.
okay, you're right. I will follow your recommendation, and I will try to expand the study with another industries. So I will hope in the next future to be the opportunity to offer you this kind of result. Also expanded it from a geographical point of view.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you very
I
much.
think,
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is John Langford. I am a senior audit manager at IBM. And Nicholas, thank you. It's great to be with you again. It's been a while. Since I last had the pleasure of speaking to this very august body of people, we have made some progress at IBM in our continuous monitoring and continuous auditing program. And what I'll speak about today is really the initiative within internal audit. And I want to preface that because we do have other continuous monitoring initiatives within IBM that are actually sponsored by the actual process owner. So they have their own continuous monitoring program that they have. And I'll explain why we took off in a little bit different direction and why we have both a continuous monitoring and a continuous auditing program. If you'll notice on this first slide, there is a picture of the state of Texas. You may not can tell from this accent, or possibly you can, that I hail from that great state. And I am very proud of my heritage in Texas, and I'll, as I go through the presentation, I'll explain why. I'll start at the beginning, and I'll share with you kind of where we started and what set our direction for us. We'll talk about the technology that we're using, and it, as you will see, is IBM technology. We'll talk about the bidirectional approach that we're taking, the continuous monitoring and continuous auditing approach. And I'll then focus on our continuous monitoring program and give you an overview of that. Then we'll talk about our continuous auditing approach, and then a comparison of what we do from a traditional audit to what we're doing with continuous auditing. What is the difference? So as we go along, if you have questions, by all means ask, and I'll be glad to try to answer them. Let me start with my neighbor. My neighbor is the old cowboy. I have the pleasure of actually having a small ranch in Texas. And believe it or not, my neighbor down the road is very similar to this picture. And he and I often talk, and there are words of wisdom that are shared in Texas. Texas euphemisms, if you will. But as we were beginning our journey in internal audit toward continuous auditing and continuous monitoring, I talked to my friend, and he gave me some sage advice. He said, as you're thinking about your program, make sure that you build your fences horse high, pig tight, and bull strong. In other words, you want to make sure that nothing gets in that you don't want in, and nothing gets out that you don't want to get out.